to Girl Dads Chronicles, episode 2. In this episode, we're going to be talking about part 2 of our surrogacy process. So thank you all for joining us. Thank you all for watching. We are super excited to just provide this information and give you all just some insight into our process. And hopefully it will inspire all intended parents to want to also go through this process, and have children, right? It's possible. So we left off at our first video. We talked about, we made it to the full term. So full term for twins is considered maybe about 37 weeks. And we made it to about 37 and a half. So they scheduled an induction date. So our Airbnb was literally 2 minutes away from the hospital. Literally. We could walk to the hospital if we wanted to. However, we didn't. We drove because it was also snowing in Canada and extremely cold. So they had our induction date scheduled. We went there. They induced her.
We started the induction prior to our arrival.
Yeah, prior to our arrival. And they started that process. And it didn't take long at all. I mean, they induced her, and within maybe 30 minutes, less than 30 minutes, she was heading to the delivery room.
I think it was more than that.
I think it was like 30 minutes.
Okay.
I mean, I know it was like 30 minutes. Like, it didn't take long at all, right? How long do you think it took?
I mean, she was induced, the induction started prior to our arrival to the hospital, and we were at home. We had that whole conversation about being in the delivery room. All that stuff was going on, so it was easily more than that. Now, active labor happened in regards to her dilation. That went on sooner. I mean, that process, like, she went from a couple centimeters to ready to push in a short amount of time. But like from the time you start the medication to the time she was pushing, that was more than 30 minutes.
Okay, so about 30 minutes, and she was already heading to the delivery room. Okay, and so at first, of course, we were both going to be in the delivery room as dads, and me being me, taking videos of everything, pictures of everything. I definitely had my video. I had my phone, and I recorded the entire delivery. So, exclusively, this is actually never before seen footage of the birth or even anything from the operating room, because I've never even showed this to anyone. I mean, besides Vernon, I think we're the only ones who've seen this. So make sure that you take a look at some of the birth. Okay? So not all of it. We don't want to show our surrogates punani and coochie all over the internet, right? But you will be able to see certain clips. And the first clip you will see is right now.
There you go. More than one. Yeah. That's who you're going to be listening to for the next 9 months.
You know this voice.
Yeah. Oh, look at her.
Look at the chunky monkey.
Chubby cat baby.
She gets a bit of extra blush.
She's gorgeous. She looks great. She's perfect.
Oh, it's a nice size. Not too big.
Yeah, good size girl. Aw, how sweet. It's like, nice to meet you.
Let it out.
So as you can see, we were in the room. I know a lot of people had asked me like, oh, they allowed you into, the delivery room. What does that look like? Like, were you able to just take your babies and, as soon as they were born? Yes and yes. So all of that is kind of worked out in the contract prior to the surrogate even giving birth, right? All of these things are outlined in the contract. So, she's just a gestational surrogate. So she, the kids did not have any of her DNA. She didn't have rights unless you were to put it in the contract. So in our particular contract with our surrogate, if let's say that we were on our way up there for the birth and something happened to us and both of us, unfortunately got hurt or harmed or even died on our way up there to get the kids, we had to designate in our contract a person that we would want to have those rights over our children or who could make those medical decisions while she was in the hospital. Or we could elect her to make those decisions if something was to happen to us or we were incapacitated.
Combination of both.
Yeah.
In this case, because she could make those decisions immediately, but we had to decide somebody else that would actually come up there and this and third. Because if it was written that she couldn't do anything and then they were born, she wouldn't be able to hold them. They wouldn't be able to go in the room. So all of those things had to be outlined and to give her the rights to do so, as well as designating someone else to come in our absence.
Right. And so yeah, all of that is worked out in the contract. But we were there. I took videos. It was great. I don't know, and I mentioned this. I don't know. Sometimes I've heard everything like, dads normally pass out in the delivery room, or they really can't take it. It's too much blood. All of that, right? And when I was in there, I was amazed. Like, I was amused. I wasn't disgusted at all. I mean, I don't see cooch on a normal, but I wasn't disgusted. I was amused. I was like, wow, this is pretty amazing. I'm just a little shocked on how dudes can be all up in the cooch, and then when you get in the birthing room, you don't want to see the baby come out the cooch. But I thoroughly enjoyed it. What about you? Did you?
No, it was amazing. I did a lot of research, so I knew what to expect. We had an amazing surrogate. She's amazing. So the process, things that you see on TV, the screaming, the shouting, it's just like crazy. Like, none of that happened. It was my type of thing. It wasn't theatrical. It wasn't a whole lot coming from there. The staff in the room, they were really excited.
Amazing.
They made it really enjoyable. Like, things like where we had our parameters to like where we needed to be out of the way.
Right.
But when things were happening, to keep us out of the way, they guided us to, okay, we'll come over here, stay here, you can see this. So all throughout that process, it was a bit surreal. And of course, we had to also decide who was going to get baby A, who was going to get baby B. So we decided that Ricardo would get baby A and I would get baby B. So there was that time, that 14 minutes where we had one child actually, and then like running back and forth of like, okay, what's going on over here? She's literally not out yet, and then over here where she's over here like getting checked into. So just all in all, it was pretty amazing, and I've never been disgusted by birth or blood or anything like that. So all of that was great. There was some amazing things that occurred in there.
Definitely. I mean, you can even hear in some of the video, like Vernon said, where the nurse is like, get over here, come over here, come over here. I mean, the staff at Guelph Hospital was, they were like our family as well, honestly. I mean, the nurses, the doctors who delivered our children, they were epic. I mean, we had such a great experience working with the hospital and with that staff, and they definitely made sure that I got every shot. And like Vernon said, so what's super, super important when babies are born is the skin to skin, the skin to skin, right?
Mm-hmm.
That skin to skin and time that you have with your child, preferably 45 minutes when your child is born. That skin to skin contact, so that they can feel your warmth, feel you as their parent, right? Super important. So baby A
it regulates body temperature and heart rate.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and baby A was always going to be Harper, right? So we knew we had baby A and we had baby B. Baby A we always knew was going to be Harper, and then baby B was always going to be Knox. But at some point when we were up there, baby B, aka Knox, kind of pushed Harper out the way, and she went head down first and was like, "Oh no, sis, I'm going in." What? That did happen.
No, it
It did. Where Knox had moved Harper out the way, and then Harper had kind of like pushed her back.
Go on.
Vernon, what are you saying? So what happened, Vernon? You saying that it wasn't a struggle for them to come out, like where they was like they had told us that Knox had pretty much moved baby A, baby B had moved baby A out the way, and it was kind of like who was coming out first. They didn't know who was coming out. Exactly. See, this is what I'm saying. This is why you leave that up to me. You leave all of that up to me, and you leave the medical stuff, like the names of all these weird body parts and things like that in the process. You leave that to Vernon. But when it comes to remembering things like that, I got it. Okay? So, with that being said, Harper, of course, was baby A. So, when she came out, I did skin-to-skin contact.
And really cuddle in bed with them, okay?
Okay, you little turkey.
She's like, I'm going to hide my face. Okay, Dad, you're going to hold her head here just so that she can keep her airway open. There you go.
Oh, yeah. It was 42 and 36.8. Can you see all that one up there? Hold on a second.
Where do you
Hold on a second, Daddy. You got her? There you go. Here. You got her? We're just going to go in the room anyway. But
Yeah, and then when we get you to the room, we'll take your shirts off and you guys can lay in bed. We'll wrap you in a blanket and you can just chill with them.
Is her airway clear?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, you can see her.
Right? You can see how I had, as soon as she came out, I had her in my scrub shirt. I was holding her, for a good 45 minutes. Like Vernon said, she was born at 1:23 p.m. and we were waiting for Knox to come out. Like we were just waiting. We thought she was going to come straight out after Harper, but no. Okay? Did not happen. We waited a full 14 minutes for Knox to come out. She was born at 1:37 p.m., which I think is a pretty large gap for twins from what I've heard. Like I've heard I've heard from twins and from other people who've had twins that they've been like maybe a minute or so apart, right? Like, but I've never heard anyone say they've been this far apart. But
some of that has to do with if they have like cesarean, because it's just like you just pull them right out. But the birthing, because you have to restart. You have to get in the groove of the contractions again. You have to get in the groove. The baby has to, because, yeah. So it's not too common, like the 14-minute. That's not like a crazy window.
Right. Okay. Yeah. I just never heard it before. But, so when Knox came out, Harper came out, that baby was a G. Okay? Harper did not scream. She didn't yell. They actually had to wait for her to cry to know that she was like a normal baby. They was like, we have to get a cry out of her, right? And excuse me, look, we're looking at our camera because the girls are home from daycare today because Harper's nose was running. So she had to come home from daycare. So you see us glancing over. Yeah, I don't know if you heard that thump, but that was Knox that just fell on the floor. Okay? So they're home from daycare and we're checking in, making sure they're good. Even though it's supposed to be their nap time, they're not taking a nap. Okay? They're not taking a nap. But we're going to keep going. And so Harper did not cry at all. Okay? They had to like stick, they trained the fluids. They stuck this tube down her throat and sucked all this stuff up. I was like, hold on. I got real. I was like, hold on, what y'all doing with my baby? Like, what is this? Why are you sticking that all the way down her throat? Can she even, but they were just sucking the fluids out. She finally cried. And they were like, okay, she's good. That was the only cry that she did. It was like a wham. And that was it, right? Harper was just over it. She was like, I'm here. Then Knox came out and she was yelling and screaming and crying. So fat, looking like a little Buddha baby. Okay, that's why I nicknamed her Buddha when she was born. And she cried and screamed. But, and this is how I think, it just shows how a surrogate, how important they are, and like just important they are, and how special that Julie is in particular to our family. Knox came out crying, yelling, screaming. She grabbed Julie's finger, right? Julie was holding her. She grabbed Julie's finger and she just stopped crying. It was the cutest thing ever, right? I mean, it was like her knowing, hearing Julie's voice because she's been in her belly all this time, feeling that touch just made her feel so comfortable. And it was just a beautiful moment. And I have that picture too. I do. So it was a beautiful moment. So Vernon did his skin-to-skin contact with Knox. And I think we did that for about 45 minutes. And who do you think cried? Me or Vernon? I know Vernon seems a little, but who do you think cried? You think I'm the emotional one? Or you think that Vernon? Okay, you want to tell him who cried? It was definitely Vernon.
It wasn't like at the birth in that room or anything. It was very like a lot going on. It was amazing stuff. I think for me the most amazing part of that, outside of them just arriving, was the moment, because Knox, that 14 minutes, her oxygen level dropped a little bit, so even after delivery, they left her connected. Which is why instead of going straight to me or over to the other nurses' staff, she was able to even get a hold of Julie, is because they wanted more oxygen to transfer through the umbilical cord, so she stayed connected. So that was one of the most impactful, like, full circle moments for me, was to literally see the umbilical cord, like, pumping blood and oxygen through it prior to me cutting the cord. So it was great. And then just once we got back, the part that kind of got left out, that jump, is once they literally tucked them into our shirts, right, we just walked across the hall to our room. So left that out. Julie had her own room and we had our own room. So we went back over there and my mom was there. And my mom had, by that time, she was on the phone with my other family members, and people were calling. So it was just like, all of it just like caught up at one time, and it was like real. They were here on us. So yeah, it was a lot. And overall, I'm just very emotional.
Very. So it was great moments. And we did about 45 minutes of skin-to-skin contact. And then we allowed Vernon's mom, the girl's grandmother, to also do skin-to-skin contact with them for a while. And she did that with them. And because she was up there with us the entire time that we, were up there for the birth. She was there with us. And it was great having that support, having her there with us, because when them girls came home from the hospital and you had to wake up multiple times in the middle of the night, Grandma was waking up, okay? Nene was getting on up and she was taking care of them babies, and I loved it. But yeah, so our surrogate unfortunately had to go to the operating room, after having the girls due to some excessive bleeding. But everything turned out great. We immediately, as soon as she got out of the operating room, we took the girls to see her. Our surrogate's family was there. Our surrogate's girlfriend was there. Shout out to Kelly for being there and supporting Julie throughout this entire time. And shout out to the kids as well, Michael, Shia. We love you all like you all are our family as well, because you are our family. So shout out to them, because they were there the entire time. We gave the girls to Julie. And Riley. Oh yes, Riley. Yes, that's my girl. Can't forget Riley. And Julie held the girls. But it wasn't Julie that cried, it was Kelly that was crying. Kelly, which is Julie's girlfriend, she cried a lot, okay? And, I mean, her and Vernon were like, you know, they're the emotional ones. And I guess me and Julie are just like yeah, we're emotional, but, you know, it is what it is. So yeah, so I mean, just being there in the presence of all of that support and love was just, you know, super, super exciting for me. So it was overwhelming for me. Of course, it didn't show, but I loved it. And like I said, our nurses, I mean, you couldn't ask for better hospital staff, like, you know, throughout our entire process there. Granted, our girls were born, Harper was born 6 pounds, 1 ounce, and Knox was born 7 pounds, 4 ounces. So for twins, these are pretty big, right? Normally, when you have twins, they sometimes have to stay in the NICU for maybe about 2 weeks. We were out of the hospital in 24 hours. They had to do a hearing test, and then they had to do the hearing test and
They do the regular baby test.
The regular baby test. We had to wash their hair one time. Yeah, and then we were out of the hospital.
Important note, if anybody wants to have children in Canada, take your own diapers because you only get one.
They do only give you 1 diaper in Canada. But of course, we were prepared. So we had...
But not initially. We had to leave and go get them.
We had to leave to get diapers?
Mm-hmm. My mother left.
Oh, yeah, she did leave.
In the States, you have diapers as long as you're in the hospital.
In the hospital. Yeah, but... Oh, the girls are trying it. Oh, they are trying it. But yes, so Grandma Nene, okay, went and got some diapers. So we were set after that. We were out of the hospital, and I think we stayed in Canada how long? So they were born on the 18th. We stayed in Canada for another week after they were born.
Get their first doctor's appointment there.
Mm-hmm. So we had to see their first doctor. So, please excuse Daddy Vernon. As oh wow, if only you could see them on this camera yelling, running all over the room and destroying everything. But yes, so we this is like super candid, and this is like what it's like being a parent. You think that you want it to go one way, you know, but it just doesn't happen that way. And this is not stuff that we want to edit out. This is stuff that we want you to see because it's real life. And ultimately, that's what we want you to see is kind of like the real life, not, you know, something that's edited that shows you this perfect picture of things, because that's not how it always is. So while Vernon finally puts the girls down to sleep at 1:43 p.m. when initially they were put into bed at 12 p.m. and they're still not asleep, I'll continue to go on until he comes down. So we stayed in Canada for about a week after the girls were born, and we returned back to the States on Christmas Day 2018. And we kind of like shocked and surprised all of our family by just pulling up with the girls. And a lot of people ask, like, how did you get the girls across the border? How was it getting the girls home, right? While we were in Canada, we took that week to apply for their, you know, like their birth certificates and things like that, with both of our names on them, of course. But we did utilize that time, you know, appropriately while we were there. But also, we just wanted to have some time to kind of like, you know, spend more time with our surrogate and her family. Before we left, we went to a huge family gathering at our surrogate's friend's house. Thank you for hosting us. It was beautiful. The food was amazing. Where it was like everyone was together, friends and family were together, and they got the chance to meet the girls, hang out with the girls, love on the girls. Like, the girls definitely have an extended family in Canada, and we can't wait to bring them back up once COVID and everything clears up. We knew prior to, Vernon had did a lot of research, right, on how to get kids across the border. And we knew that one of the stories we heard when we were at the Men's Having Babies conference was that, you know, one family had a problem with getting, you know, their kids across the border, or they said, you know, getting them back into the States was kind of like a struggle, and you had to go to the consulate and get this letter and get all of these things. Vernon, being the frugal person that he is, did not want to spend more money on more documents and things like that. So essentially what we did to get across the border is we just had a notebook, right? We had receipts from, from the process, from the egg donor to paying the surrogate. We had all of those wire transfer receipts. We had our original contract with our surrogate. And we also got a letter from the hospital that was stamped that stated that, Julie was the gestational surrogate, but myself and Vernon were the biological parents of the children. So that if we were stopped at the border and we were asked questions, we were already prepared to provide, border control with all of the information that we had to show that these were our biological children. And I think he briefly glanced at the documents and was just like, boom, you're good to go. And that was it. So if you are considering having a child or, doing the surrogacy process in Canada, just make sure that you archive your documents, right? And
What's the importance specifically regarding how you are crossing the border? Land means sea and air have different regulations, which is also why we drove. Because if you fly, you have to have more documentation. But to drive across the border, you don't need as much.
So even if you fly to Canada every single time you go, it may be beneficial that when it's time for the birth, that you then find, a state close, maybe like New York or something, to fly into and then drive from New York up to Canada because it's easier to kind of bring them across the border that particular way.
Without waiting for those documents.
Right, without waiting for those documents. And, because that's how easy it was for us. But definitely I encourage you to archive all of your documents, archive them. That's what we did. And we even archive them for purposes of when the girls get older and they want to know who they are, where they came from. They have a binder that they can open up that starts from the pamphlet that we got from the Men's Having Babies Conference. So where it all began to every single receipt, pictures of what the egg donor looks like, pictures of the surrogate and her family throughout the entire process. You have everything in there that they can get to learn about who they are and where they came from and how that process took place. So that's definitely something that I would encourage you all to do, so we brought them home Christmas Day and to family and support and love. And it was amazing. So that was our surrogacy journey, really. I mean,
it's other stuff after that. You still need to get a social security card. You still need to get their birth certificates from Canada. But those are little things that can be unique to everyone's situation because sometimes you're not a U.S. citizen. Both of us are U.S. citizens, so it made it a lot easier. There's still like a bunch of proof that you have to show here. You could have done it at the consulate, but again, a lot of those laws kind of get overwritten by a baseline process of like everybody has to do it this way, but you truly don't. And I didn't use a lawyer here in the States. I literally just went, stood in line, talked to people, talked to a lot of people, made a lot of phone calls, had a lot of documentation. Had to go back a couple of times. Part of it is because I didn't want to pay for that from someone else, but it was also, it's a learning experience. Like people didn't know that this was a thing. They're like, oh, you had your kids where? And the birth certificate has your names on them and all that looks like, but it's like, as weird as it is and how behind in times as the states are at times, there are a lot of policies in place that allow you to still get the documents that you need. Like we went and applied for the social security cards and we have them. And they don't need, there's no birth certificate for the states. We don't need that, but we have the birth certificates for Canada. Which in there, I believe, unless laws have changed, but last I saw there, you can have up to like 3 names on the birth certificate. So they are way ahead of us here in the States, and it's not mother, father. It just is, I think it says parent A, parent B, or parent 1 or 2. But so it's really inclusive and it's great, and they'll always have that. And when it comes to citizenship. I tell people all the time, like they're U.S. citizens and they're Canadian. They're Canadian citizens by birth because they were born there, and they are U.S. citizens by their biological parent. One, in this case, both of
so they have that dual citizenship status.
Yeah. So do we have a Canadian passport? No. Could they get it? Yes.
Watching. Make sure that you subscribe, you like, and you share this video. All intending parents, all people who want to, aspire to have children, it is possible. Make sure that you, ask us any questions. Go in this comment section, ask us questions, post your comments. What did you think about the video, right? Completely raw and uncut. And we hope that you enjoy the birthing clips and the pictures that were included to show you all what our process looked like. Thank you for watching. And keep in mind that we are also going to be talking about, so yes, we had a great process, a smooth process as it relates to our surrogacy, but keep in mind that our process in general on the back end was not all peaches and cream. And we're going to talk and get a little deeper into some of the hardships of the surrogacy process, not because of what happened with the surrogacy or things like that, but actually about Vernon and our relationship going through this process, and how some people weren't really too happy with Vernon throughout this process due to his secrecy. So make sure you tune in to the next episode of Girl Dads Chronicles, where we're going to talk a little bit about, the stuff that isn't forefront or that you don't get to see every day. Okay? Thank you again for watching. Make sure you subscribe, make sure you like, and make sure you share. We will see you